Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to call the meeting to order. I'll begin by acknowledging that we're in Treaty 1 territory and the traditional homeland of the Métis Nation. My name is Ron Merritt. I'll be your chairperson this morning. To my left is Mr. Harvey Diamond, and to his left is Mr. Robert Upton. Our assessor is Mr. Matthew Barocas, sorry. And our recording secretary is Cara Belshall. We'll be hearing applications for revision in regards to the assessment rule in accordance with the Municipal Assessment Act. Matters for which revision is requested has been described in each application, and we'll limit discussions to those matters. The statements that the applicant or the assessor make at this hearing are sworn testimony. Anybody speaking on this matters must be sworn in. Comparisons of assessment values of properties are not considered evidence of market value by the board. The board is appointed annually by City Council and is independent of the city and the city administration. We make our decisions based on the evidence provided at the hearing and issue a written report or order that will be mailed to all parties as soon as possible. Please note that the board's decision in respect to application may be appealed to the municipal board if the matter pertains to value or classification, or the Court of Queen's Bench if the matter pertains to exemptions from taxation. If you wish to appeal, the information will be included in the board's order. In respect to the process this morning, I will confirm the matters to be addressed with each applicant, following by the swearing in. We'll then have the assessor's testimony, followed by questions that other applicant may have, and it'll be the applicant's testimony followed by questions. Each party will have the opportunity to summarize if they wish. Once all evidence about the applicant has been, or the application has been brought forward, the applicant may leave. The process will repeat for each item on the docket this morning. The process will close after the application has been heard, and the board will deliberate in private and make its decisions. You will receive the order by registered mail as soon as possible. As information, all public hearings are live stream recorded and will be part of the public record. I'll ask our secretary to swear in the assessor and to affirm Mr. Nofield's.
Please state your name. Do you affirm the evidence you present today is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you. Are you both speaking?
No, it's mine.
Please state your name.
Rocky, you fine?
Do you affirm the evidence you present today is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
All right, we'll go to 1134 Notre Dame. Mr. Assessor, whenever you're ready, you can take us through this property.
All right, 1134 Notre Dame, 1301258-2000. It's an apartment built in 1952, 2 stories. Wood or steel framed walls, 10 units, 4 bachelor, 5 bedroom, 5 1 bedroom, and 1 2 bedroom. Flip to page 2, my reports. There was a sale. Well, first of all, you'll see that they've been compliant with the mailers, so they've been sending their stuff back. There was a sale on the property October 31st, Halloween 2008, for $455. That was the most recent market transaction on the property. Income, it was all modeled income. We're using a rent of $606.28 for an effective gross income of $70,862. Model expense ratio, you get $38,166 and a net operating income of $32,696. Cap rate is modeled 4.8 for a capitalized rounded value of $68,100. So rent comparables are on page 4, taken from around the area. Just looking ahead, it looks like the appellants and I have got highly similar net operating incomes, like within $1,000 of each other. So, predominantly this is a cap rate issue. So, our caps are modeled, they're taken from information submitted to the city, statistically calculated with their multiple regression. So, the remainder of my report is just the page 8 to 10. That's just the most recent income and expense mailer. That's my evidence, thank you.
I thank you. Mr. Nifel, questions?
Just for the record, before I start, you make a statement that you think it's just a cap rate issue. That's really not your statement to make, we're the appellant, right?
Yeah, you're right, Bill.
Okay. Just, it just, when people make the statement, it just kind of bothers me. Yes, but you're right.
Okay.
But I should have been the one to say that. So my questions are, what's the highest and best use of this particular site?
Apartments?
As a fully functioning apartment? Like a normal apartment?
Yeah.
Okay. Your capitalization comparables, you didn't bring any to the board, did you?
No.
Do you have any?
No.
Did you know what they're comprised of?
No, it's all modeled.
Okay. Do you know if your model used the same highest and best use as here today? What I mean, to be specific, you know if they inserted renovation projects in their cap rate study?
They would have looked at all sales.
Well, in the past, we have seen, and the last time I've seen an actual cap from the city was probably 4 years ago. And in that time, 3 of the 4 caps were renovation projects. Now, do you know if the renovation projects are still in your cap study?
I'm not involved in the modeling
Okay.
process.
Why is your study higher than the 3 parties who actually sell real estate?
I'm not involved in the modeling process.
Okay, so the city doesn't sell real apartments, do they? And these other 3 cap rate studies that you brought forward, these people sell apartments, correct?
Yep.
Now, when you look at your model, do you know if they differentiate on unit configuration? For example, this one has a ratio of, I believe, 40% bachelors. Does that come into factor anywhere in your model?
I wasn't involved in the modeling process, I can't talk about it.
Those are my questions, thank you.
I thank you. Mr. Diamond?
So I look at the city's cap rate that you show on page 5 of your report, and it indicates that for a low-rise B, which I'm assuming this property probably is, do you agree? That the cap rate can be anywhere between 4% and 7.30%? Am I reading that right?
On the low end, that's what the table's saying, yes.
4 to 7.3 at the high end. And this property you've modeled at 4.7?
The model is signed 4.82.
4.8. So that really has it as one of the better properties. If you use it, because I mean, go all the way to 7.3, and you have it very close to the 4, which is your floor rather than the ceiling.
Yeah,
Now,
it's,
do you think that on Notre Dame that we'd expect to find a property that would be that close to the low end, especially when it's built in the 1950s?
they're assigned by market region and year built. So, capitalization rates are modeled, and that's not a determination I have the flexibility to make.
Right, so you're saying that this is all done before you even get here, you're not involved in
Cap
that
rate,
portion, and
yeah.
basically you're saying that, look, all I can do is say, point to what we've got in our report.
Yeah,
And
based
don't
on-
ask me any questions because I'm not there to answer them because I'm not really involved in the modeling.
Well, I'm not involved in the modeling process, but we get the income and expense mailers and the sales, and
No.
then they do their,
And I agree that the income does look at, it looks like there's a cap rate situation, so I don't think anybody's arguing with the city's net operating income. I think what they're looking, what Mr. Neufeld saying is, I think we're maybe capped a little bit too low. And I'm trying to get to that myself to verify whether, in fact, he is, and I'm only looking at the city's report, and I see how close is the floor rather than the ceiling, knowing where the property is, and I'm wondering myself. And you haven't really told me anything that makes me stop wondering.
I haven't had the opportunity to inspect the property,
Okay.
unfortunately, so I can't comment on its condition or perhaps its suitability for renovation.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Rose.
Mr. Upton? So you say you have not visited the site?
No, I'm not.
You have no idea of the type of construction the building is? Is it brick or wood frame?
Wood frame.
Wood frame?
Mhm.
Okay, and Notre Dame, how far up Notre Dame is this? What's the intersection? You know?
No, not off the top of my head.
Is it in the downtown core pretty well?
Perhaps the appellant will be able to give the location. On the top of my head, I don't have one. Looking at their brief, it's just west of Dominion Street.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Just one question. The panel members, myself, we've done a lot of apartment buildings. I've never seen a cap rate of 4.8. So, is this new for the department? I mean, normally you're gonna be doing quarters or
Yeah.
full percentages?
Yeah, the modeling department decided to smooth things out more. They have smaller increments in between the shifts.
So this is just, as you said, it's all model-driven? All right, I thank you. Mr. Newfield, the floor is yours.
Thanks. Just a preliminary, not preliminary matter, but an opening comment is this is our first apartment of the year, and this was not our original appeal, so we haven't really finished our own cap rate workups for this year. And so a lot of what you're seeing is a bit of historical information. The issue, of course, is a cap rate only, and we've included our industry report, which is the older one. We do have an updated one, but for page, on our page 7, but the updated one for age is the same numbers. We haven't changed our rates in 2 years because we're already at the bottom of the cap rate table. A cap rate is a unit, an investment unit. It's a rate of anticipation on income, and it's very closely tied to money markets, and it revolves around the cost of borrowing money. If you, the break even on a 75% equity loan in today's banking is 5.4% on a cap rate to turn a positive income. You need 5.4% NOI to pay your loan off at a 70% ratio on standard rates. Some people get preferential financing and can do it for less. So in my opinion, it's always been, that's the lowest you could look at. And I think a lot of the rates that we've seen used by the city, and they haven't brought any forward, but in the past we've seen that they've been renovation projects where they, someone buys a project, buys it on a per door basis. At that point in time when it's sold, it's predominantly vacant, and it's not generating income, so of course it's gonna generate a low cap. Those aren't numbers for use in the investment world. Nobody cares about the pre-renovation income. They care about the post-renovation income. So that's our big issue. The studies, you'll note, and I'm gonna refer to the assessor's brief, just simply because he's got the updated numbers in here. Ours are going to be the same. If you look at the industry, the 3 ones that they're reporting, and these people actually sell apartments, so they strive to stabilize or remove the construction projects, renovation projects from their reported sales. And the Colliers, we have 5 to 6%, and of course you've heard the story already that we include closing costs and land title transfer fees in our cap rate, so it's artificially low. We also do not include any property like this in our studies. We only use the better buildings. So our range is 5 to 6, and adjusted it runs 5.4 to 6.3 roughly. That will be our adjusted range. Now, CBRE do a bit more of the lower end stuff, and you can see when you look at theirs, they've got a range of 5.75 to 6%. And for a building that's operating nicely without any problems, I can't disagree, we're seeing those rates. The market is hot, but that's as hot as it's gonna get. The drawbacks on this site, as I mentioned in questioning, were a high amount of bachelor units, and a bachelor unit has no real growth potential, even with renovation, because you're still dealing with a single income person who's renting it, whereas units with bedrooms often will be a double income tenancy. So nobody wants bachelors in a renovated, so it is a drawback in the market. Now, we put in a 7% cap rate, and that was in the absence of having actually done our study. So my last comment on the record will be that we did bring this in last year, and nothing's changed in the market, and the board was applied 5.75%. Might have been a few members of this panel sitting there. You all remember, but anyway, so that would be reasonable as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions of the applicant?
Would you say that overall market value for apartments has increased in the past 10 years?
No, if you're talking about same site sales, no, because nothing has happened, because we're already at the point where you're not gonna get cheaper money. You know, you still have to try to make money. No one's buying these as a charity. You want a return on your income, so you still need to pay your loan, and I told you 5.4 is the lowest one that anyone could really consider. Now, the only thing that has increased in our market is there are no more new units on the market, which simply affect the average net rent per unit, not the returns, and then the renovation projects. And those don't, when someone asks a broad question, is the market increased? The answer is absolutely not, because you have to look at same site sales. It's the same concept of retail, where people say, oh, retail prices are going up. No, they're not. The new malls are getting better rents, but the existing sites in Portage and Pembina are still getting the same rents that they have for decades. So no.
So in your mind, the sale from 10 years ago, 455, it would sell for roughly the same amount?
Well, as I did mention, that we were comfortable with a slight downward movement in our cap rate, and I haven't done the math, but I think a sale of 10 years ago would have been at a time when, I mean, most of our increases in Winnipeg market, where the values did increase, were really the period of 03 to 08, because that's when money finally began to stabilize and drop. And between 2008 and the current time, there's been virtually no change in the Bank of Canada rates. It's gone up a quarter point here, down a quarter point, up half a point, down half a point. But in that period from 03 to 08, it dropped significantly to its current levels. And that's why we see price increases, because everyone's chasing money. Your yields are lower from interest or other things, then you're turning to real estate.
Have you inspected this building?
No.
Do you know if it's been renovated or not?
I can't answer for sure. I'm looking at the market rent, or the rent that's on here, and it seems to be pretty close to what I would expect to see for a building in this neighborhood. Nothing in there tells me yes or no. The only thing I can see physically is the ugly green paint job it has.
Those are my questions, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Diamond?
So, Mr. Neufeld, would you agree that the reason why everybody comes to our board is because they want fairness in their assessment? If they don't think it's unfair?
You're asking me that's a tough question, because
Okay.
the honest truth is, me, yes, but the appellants.
No, I'm asking you,
have a different
okay, and the answer is
motivation.
yes, and I expected it to be yes.
Yes,
Okay, so
okay.
it was a basically leading question.
Okay.
Okay, and would you also agree with me that the city, when they do their cap rates on buildings, are pretty consistent with the type of building, and are probably any building you see, we find that has been assigned a low cap rate?
Well, in the multifamily, there.
I've never seen you come here
No.
and say that you thought the cap rate was too high.
Well, that's not
Okay.
true, because if you look at you haven't been on a retail panel, because some of the retail caps.
Yeah, but we're talking about,
Are.
yeah, right now we're talking about.
Retail vary a lot.
Okay, yeah, but right now we're talking about an apartment building.
Okay.
Okay.
In apartments, they have generally been applied consistently below market. And what happens is that I think you pointed out yourself in questioning, they don't make a difference between the quality of the apartment, which means the quality of the investment.
Okay, now the next question is though, if we want fairness, and the city's always low with everybody, and if somebody makes an application to us and we lower their assessment, but other people don't make those applications, we're really being unfair to the people who don't make applications because everybody's consistent, and if we have consistency, then we have fairness.
Yeah, but that's kind of, it sounds like we've got an argument proposed by the communists in Russia, you know, you don't complain, you don't get that.
No, but but I'm saying that I like us to all fairness as well, and I'd like to be fair to not only your
Well-
applicant, but all the other people who don't apply.
Okay, I'll tell you a story of people who don't appeal. They'll look at their number and they'll say, well, they've underestimated my income, so I can live with the cap. Now, in this case, we're virtually the same for income, so there is a glaring error.
Okay.
We do review properties where we make that decision, and that's why we don't bring them in. But the second part to answer your question, if you recall from 2 years ago, virtually every cap rate was adjusted upwards by the board. Everyone who appealed. I can't help it if people don't appeal. Some cultures have a different concept.
Okay, I recall some where we didn't actually increase the cap rate.
Oh,
but-
then if it was me, I appealed it, don't worry about it.
Anyway, okay, thank you.
Mr. Upton?
No, I have no questions, thank you.
Either party wants submission? Matt?
No.
No? Mr. Neufeld? Okay, leave it with us. So thank you for your attendance this morning and the results very soon. Thank you. 649 Dufferin Avenue. You may come forward here, sir, and we'll either have you affirmed or sworn in.
Will you swear on the Bible, or you'll affirm today? And state your name. Do you affirm the evidence you present today is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Do you have any handouts for us at all, or?
Actually, the guy who was supposed to attend the meeting, he got sick, and I came in his place
Okay.
in emergency. I have information about this building,
Okay,
but
so,
not as in detail.
okay, so you are representing the owner then? or-
Yes.
Yes, okay. So we'll just continue with our presentation then, okay?
Yes.
So there's a preliminary issue here. Would you like to talk about that to the appellant?
Yeah, non-compliance, which essentially means that the requests for income and expense mailers that we've been sending out haven't been returned. So when they're not returned, you can see that there's been registered mail, page 30 and 31, the last 2 pages of my report. As such, the burden of proof is on the applicant. And if successful in my application, there would be a delay in any reduction of value of the property until the assessment year of 2021.
Okay, so.
So do you understand that? Do you understand?
Yes, I
You just
understand
said-
that they sent
okay.
a letter for the assessment, and they asked to fill out the information and send it back to city, which was not done.
So, are you in agreement, or can you explain as to why the information was not submitted?
Yes, I can tell you. I'm also a shareholder of this company who owns this property. There was a conflict between the shareholders, and a lot of things were actually not moving out. So recently they figured out, and hopefully now we can provide information which is required by the city. Yeah.
Okay, I think we're going to have a little stop here, and we'll make our, we'll probably exit out, and you can sit here, so we'll just shut down the camera for, and we'll make a ruling in regards to the non-compliance issue. Okay, we'll call the meeting back to order, and in regards to the non-compliance issue, it will be granted to the city. So therefore, sir, you will present your evidence first and tell us about what you think the value of the property is, or what you think, just tell us about your property and what you think the value should be. So the floor is yours, sir.
Yeah, this property, these all units are 500, I think, around 70 square feet each, and then with the finished basement. This property was at 660 before, for the last 2-3 years. I don't know what happened, that suddenly it jumped $200,000 almost. The same property at the corner of 613 Dufferin Avenue, which is built after this, which has a 6,666 square feet, double story, with separate finished basement with separate suite. That is also assessed 872. This one in square footage is half building than that, both are newly built. This is 849.
You have nothing to give us in regards to anything, it's just verbal?
As I told that the guy who was supposed to come is not.
Okay. You can continue.
So
Yep.
I can tell
Yep.
figures, but I don't have in writing. Second thing, I'm looking at this cap rate which is assessed by city. And this advertisement for sale which is attached over here, which mentioned that currently rented for 1,200. Fortunately, we were able to rent when the Syrian refugee came and they have no place to live. And the welcome center, we were able to rent at this, all these units. And I don't know is it in your information or not. It was a big news on media that some people wrote some slogans and then they quit all suddenly. After that, in last 2 years, almost 2 units at a time, if I calculate the average, was empty. So we couldn't rent at this, as you mentioned, 2% is the vacancy rate. So the vacancy rate is, I think, almost around 35%, not the 2% since then. That is the only 2 years when Syrian refugee came and we were able to rent these. But the people over there wrote a slogan, and it was also in the news, and police came and they said that they cannot fulfill their agreement, they have to leave within a day, and then Welcome Center took them out, and all were empty. Since then, we are trying to rent. No units we could rent for a whole year, you know. People come, go, break things, as this area is, everybody knows how is this. I think 4 or 5 cases are in the, we reported with the police too, so we are having a very tough time to rent out this building and maintain. As written in this cap rate and everything is, I understand we did not provide the information, but I would love if I would reach on this cap rate, but that's not the fact.
So what do you think the value should be?
Whatever it was before, that's the value. I tried to sell, not got in 4 year, single offer of even 700,000 of this building. Not a single offer. We tried, nobody. We are just stuck in this area, made a huge investment, but
And that's your presentation?
for me,
Is that your presentation?
yeah, that's what I,
Okay. I'll see if the assessor has any questions for you.
sure.
Matthew, whenever you want to, any questions?
So how many of the units are rented out now?
Right now is 1,200 and 1,300.
That's what they're renting out for.
Yes. But people come for 2 months, 3 months,
Mhm.
and then break. Only 2 or 3 customers are consistent, otherwise,
Okay.
that's what's going on, yeah.
Okay. So do you have you have a relationship, you said with, there's a Syrian community group, is that what I think I remember?
Yeah, in 2016, when we built this building newly,
Mm.
the Syrian refugee came, and we contacted the Welcome Center. All 6 people were filled in. 2 year, very good.
Mhm.
At the end of 2 year, the people surrounding, there are some bad people, they actually wrote slogan, go back to your country, this and that, they harassed them, and it also came in the news, it was.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
And then they all left, all 6 of them. The building was whole empty. Next 3-4 months, no customer. After that, we start giving to the local people, as you know.
Okay.
Some through Red Cross, some through, welfare system. But they come, they live for 3, 4, 5 months, sometimes 2, 3 months, break the unit, leave. That's what's going on.
So you don't have any sort of agreement where you have to keep units available for that group or any other group? It's still-
They don't even want to live. Half of them already moved from all this area.
Okay. Those are my questions then.
Thank you, Mr. Diamond.
So how many vacancies do you have right now?
One.
One vacancy?
And the other one is expected within a month
Okay.
because she's not paying
Yeah.
any utility.
So your income is not, the potential income of the city is assigned because of the fact that you're not renting it out to the capacity that the city model shows that it's capable of earning income at.
Yes.
So you're aware of the fact that if you would have filled out your mailers and sent them to the city might have used those to make a determination that would have been more favorable to you?
I understand that, but as I told you, there are 4 shareholders, there are severe conflicts.
Well, yeah, but you were there.
I
You're
understand.
here today.
It's our fault, I know.
You could have done it. You don't need to, the other shareholders don't have to. That's not really,
One-
that's not gonna sit with us.
I know,
Okay?
I know.
You're here today, you filled out the application, and you certainly were able to provide the city with the information that the mill is required.
But I do not have all the information. One person has the documents, the other has different things, and they are not cooperating. That was the situation, that's why.
Okay, so you resolved that now.
But it's solved recently, so now I would be able to provide the information. to the city.
I looked through the photographs that the city's provided, and it looks like the property is, nice-looking property. Where exactly on Dufferin is it?
It's after McGregor. We're the.
Okay, so you're saying west of McGregor?
West of McGregor, just beside co-op housing, between co-op housing
Oh,
and
yeah, okay.
Manitoba housing, yeah.
Oh, yeah, sure, okay, I know where it is. And you built those units yourself, or you have them built?
Yes, I built those units.
Okay, that's my questions, thanks.
Thank you. Mr. Upton?
Yeah, you say you have one vacancy right now, but throughout the course of a year, would it be an average of more than one vacancy? or-
Yes, for sure. I can provide the information if time is given to me for the last 2-year average. I can provide all that. I need a few weeks to collect all the information from the partners and the client.
You're just a little late with it right now.
Pardon me?
You're pretty late with it right now. We don't, I consider something we don't have yet, so, okay. So you feel the value is how much again?
Pardon me?
What does you feel the value is of the building?
I think it was 660.
660 in the previous assessment? And you feel that that would be a fair assessment now?
Yes, to be honest, I started to build in this area, and in last 7-8 years, I built a lot, and I now quit actually, because I feel that all the investment is stuck, and I couldn't sell even one house before 2 years struggle in this area. We don't want to rent. Renting is not my business. This is just, we are stuck. We made a huge investment. We are stuck in the area and we are trying to get rid of this. Unfortunately, there was some conflicts between the shareholders which make it more worse. So I think this is a fair value of 660.
You say with all your problems, you tried to put it up for sale?
Yes, I'm trying to negotiate one more realtor now. So let's see what happens. But we listed 4 or 5 times, never got any.
How much did you list it for?
We listed from, ranging from 1.1 to 1 million.
You listed for $1 million, 1.1?
Million to 1.1 different times, you know.
Okay.
But we also listed separate units for 165, but no interest at all.
So you're still in the condominium units? They could be
Yeah,
sold
these are
separately?
originally condominium units, but we couldn't sell any, so it's just like a building until now.
Okay, thank you.
For the property, did you take building permits out?
Yes.
Yeah. And,
Construction cost you want to ask?
yeah, what was the value of the building permits?
I think the construction cost, what I remember is 500 something, 584 or something like that. Because the bank appraised at 648 probably.
And when was that?
When I gave the plan to bank in 2015, yeah. But yeah,
So all the suites are renovated totally?
it's a newly constructed
Okay,
building.
it's a new, okay.
But we renovated almost every 2-3 times because the people come and break everything and go.
You had mentioned about the rents being 12 to 1,300, and they're all 3-bedroom units, are they not? Yeah.
They are 3, but actually, originally it's a 1 bedroom each unit, but we finished the basement and made 2 more over there.
Is that in conformity, or was that, did you have to get a permit for that? I mean, to
No,
change
it's
the occupancy?
No,
No?
we have done through permit.
Okay.
Basement finished through
Okay.
permit.
So,
But since-
so how many units are there now? Is there 6 in
6,
total,
yeah,
or is there 8?
No, all 6 units.
Okay. All right. We will hear from the assessor in regards to their value for your property.
1400239, 0000649 Dufferin Avenue, 2020, reference date April 1st, 2018 assessment, generated at 846, built in 2016, 6 outdoor parking spots, 6 units, 3 bedrooms. Request for information has not been returned. As previously discussed, all figures on page 3 of your model, you'll note that our average monthly rent per unit assigned to the property is $1,055.98. Expense ratio is stabilization rate is also modeled. So that generates our estimated market value per suite also of 141,000 per suite. Rate comparables are on page 4. So when I was looking at this property, and I was searching for rent comparables, there's not a whole lot in that area. So there's only 3 that I could find: Higgins, Alexander, and Euclid, ranging from $750 on Alexander for the newer property. These are all newer properties. That's the strictly 1 bedroom, up to $999, which is the Euclid property, which is predominantly 2 bedrooms. Our subject property, we have it as 3 bedrooms. So, looking for more information in regards to the rent, if you go to page 7, I actually have the MLS listing of this property when they tried to sell it. The list date is February 8th, 2016. So in that listing, as the applicant just testified, it says all units are now currently rented out at $1,200 per month plus utilities. Saying that they're all individually titled as well in the ad. So they did list it. They tried to sell it in February of 2016 for $1.1 million. It was on for over 3 months and it didn't sell. So, given that the listing here shows that they're proclaiming that $1,200 per month plus utilities, and they're all currently rented out. In the absence of any other information, I looked at our monthly rent per suite of $1,055, and I wasn't able to make an adjustment because it's all rented out at $1,200. Expense ratio and cap again were modeled. Pictures from the listing comprise the rest of my report, other than the last 2 pages, which is non-compliance information, showing basically the condition. It's a new building, newer building. That's my listing.
Thank you. Any questions of the assessor?
Just the question that after 2 buildings of Manitoba Housing, there's a newly building at the corner of McGregor and Dufferin. And the city has assessed at 872. That has 1,100 square feet. Because I know the guy who built that. It's a double story plus basement. And basement has separate doors too. They are 1,100 square feet, 3 bedroom, 2.5 or 3.5 washroom, plus the finished basement. And the value of that one is almost same as this building is. What is the reason?
I don't know any details about that. Maybe they returned their mailer. We did an analysis and an adjustment.
That's all.
Thank you. Mr. Diamond?
So, Mr. Rex, you assigned a 4.8 cap to this property.
That's what the models assigned this property.
Okay, and that would be location, I would say, because it looks like the property itself would be pristine, and then another area would have a lower cap rate. Like the
It would be
4%.
more desirable in another area, for sure.
And it would probably have the floor cap rate being a new property if it was in a better location. Yeah, different, let's see. Yes, different location. Okay, and do you think that 0.8 is enough to justify the location that the applicants described as being one where the neighbors write graffiti on it, telling people to go home and things like that? Do you think it deserves a higher cap rate because of the
Well, I mean,
area?
in terms of the graffiti, that's an individualized situation.
Mhm.
In terms of whether that adjustment is enough, the model has assigned that cap rate based on their analysis and the sales and the income expenses in the area that have been submitted to the city. I didn't play a hand in that, so I
Okay.
can't comment on
Okay,
it.
that's good. Thanks. I have no further questions.
I thank you. Mr. Upton?
No, I have no questions, thank you.
Won't either. Either party wants summation?
I don't have a summation.
No? Would you like to conclude anything, add anything?
I think that's all what I said.
Okay.
It should be stay same, 660, whatever it is
Okay.
it was before. Because that, the example, you mentioned this $1,200, we had this for when Syrian refugee came, and it's done. After that, it's worse situation over there.
All right, I thank you for coming this morning, and thank you for your presentation, and results very soon.
Thank you.
Thank you. 200 Brazier Street? Come on forward here, we'll get you sworn in or affirmed, either one.
Will you affirm or swear in this morning? Bible or? I'm gonna swear in today.
Oh, yeah.
Or affirm. Please state your name.
Well, in front.
And do you affirm the evidence you'll present today is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Thank you. Do you have something to hand out there?
Just for the,
Okay.
I did not.
You can hang on to that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, sir. So you saw the previous one, so we'll let the assessor go first and tell us about your property. Mr. Assessor, whenever you're ready, but I can see there's a recommendation on your property here.
Yeah, I made a recommendation to reduce the assessment to 405,000,
Yeah.
down from 561.
Yeah.
Were you aware of the recommendation, and are you aware of the recommendation? And are you in agreement?
You know, because I just got the
Okay.
property estimate that 561.
Yeah, from the
Yeah.
city.
Yeah.
Now, what they're saying now is that they're going to, after they've reviewed everything, they've reviewed it, and they've come down, instead of being 561,000,
Yeah.
it will only be assessed at $405,000.
Yeah.
So, are you in agreement with it? Or you can, if you think the value is fair, you can agree, or if you think the value should be lower, you can argue that. So it's up to you.
I think it's because before I purchased it's 405,000, and after that I feel bad when I purchased the building because very poor condition inside, and I think if someone can if I can sell it, I can willing to sell it the price I bought it. That's why the estimated 561 is too high for that building.
Okay, that's why you appealed.
Yeah.
Now, because you're here,
Yeah.
they're willing to make you a deal,
Yeah.
okay, to bring it down to 405,000, okay, instead of the previous 561. Okay. Are you in agreement with that? Or do you want to argue it? Are you in agreement?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, if you will accept the recommendation then?
Yeah.
Okay, so there's no need to, you don't have to do any presentation, you can just agree with it,
You mean
and that's it. And that's
Sorry.
it.
You mean agree with the 561?
No.
No,
Because
coming down,
Oh,
down,
gosh.
okay, maybe just show him.
See, so the assessor is
Oh,
changing it to this number.
yeah,
So do you agree with this number?
yeah.
All right, so that's all you have to say is that you agree with
Yeah.
it, and it's done. It's,
Well, we have to listen to this.
Well, we have to get the
Cities.
city's info on.
okay, I'm sorry.
Okay, so Brazier Street, he did just purchase the property. He purchased it, well, it's post-reference sale. But I looked at the income, most recent income and expense mailer. submitted by the property owner on page 7. Submitted online. So, looking at that, seeing that we were way off in terms of net operating income, as per what he reported. I looked at as well. I looked at the listing, though it was post-reference, but I was reading the remarks to get an idea of what sort of condition it was in. 6 one-bedroom, lots of parking, well cared for, windows, exterior AC units, in 2016, excellent layout for access, nice landscape yard, all showings, blah, blah. Okay, so I looked at the fact that the description said it was in good condition. In combination with the income and expenses that were being reported, I made a determination to lower it to $405,000.
Do you have any questions at all?
I don't.
Okay. Mr. Diamond?
No, I don't think you.
Mr. Upton?
No questions, no.
I think that concludes our hearing then, so thank you for coming.
Thank you so much.
And you'll get results by registered mail. All right?
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.